In this tutorial, I will teach you how to draw 3D letters step by step. 3D letters may seem complicated at first, but with a bit of theory and some practice, you learn it in no time. So without any further delays, let's get started. For this tutorial, you'll need just a few basic lettering tools, and you'll find links to everything that I mentioned in the description box below. So what you'll need is paper, a pencil, which is preferably an HB pencil, an eraser, and a ruler. You can try to do it freehand without a ruler, but I prefer using one. The ruler I always use and recommend is called the rolling ruler. It's basically like a normal ruler, it just has this rolling cylinder on the backside that it allows it to roll on the surface like this. You're able to draw parallel lines quickly and easily, which is just perfect for both hand lettering and calligraphy. So these are the basic tools that you're gonna need, but if you want to use some colors for your 3D letters, you can use some colored pencils, watercolors, and a whole bunch of different pens and markers. Again, all the tools that I recommended are in the description box below. Okay, next up we have the basics of 3D letters. Instead of just giving you a pre-made template for you to copy from, I think it's crucial to have a basic understanding of what 3D letters actually are. I believe it's gonna provide you with a much stronger foundation, and all the practice that you're gonna do later on is gonna be so much more effective. Without getting all scientific in this artsy lettering tutorial, here is a very basic and boiled down definition of what 3D is. 3D is any object with height, width, and depth. Basically, we're just adding an extra dimension to the flat 2D letter forms we usually create. With that in mind, let's see the actual technique that we're gonna use to draw 3D letters. I'm not sure if this method has a particular name to it, but the way I call it is the equal distance 3D method. I call it this way because, well, the 3D extends equally everywhere. Before I start showing you how to apply this effect on letters and words, let's try with a simpler shape, a square. Grab your pencil and the ruler and draw a simple square. It can also be a rectangle, it doesn't really matter. First of all, what we need to do is determine the direction of the 3D. It can come from any side you wish. And for this example, I'll go bottom right. Once you've done that, take your ruler and from each of the corners, draw a line that points out in the same direction. Feel free to make these lines a bit longer, and what doesn't get used now will be deleted later on. For this, the rolling ruler is extremely helpful, and it's the reason why I love working with it. It just makes the whole process so much easier. Good, now you should have something that looks like this. The next step is to determine how deep our 3D goes, and it's totally up to you. The first line you draw will determine the depth, and it will be the same everywhere else. You can start either at the bottom or at the side. I prefer doing it from the bottom. So I align my ruler with the bottom line of the square, and I slide it a bit lower like this. The crucial step here is that the closing line of the 3D shape follows exactly the direction of the original shape. Once I've closed the bottom line, all I have to do is flip the ruler vertically and align it to the side of the square. Now I slide the ruler to the corner created by the previous bottom line. This way both my bottom and side have the same distance. All that is left to do now is to delete all the lines that extend over our closed 3D shape. And that's it. Following this fundamental concept that we just saw, we can easily apply it to letters and other objects. After all, what are letters if not more complex geometrical objects? Here is a quick but important side note. For beginners, I think it's best to start learning 3D with block letters. Once you've understood how to apply it properly on block letters, it will be so much easier to create different lettering styles with a 3D effect. So let's start drawing some 3D letters. Step 1 is draw the letter. For this example, I'll go with a basic sans serif block letter A. I'll draw it using the wooden board technique. In short, the wooden board technique teaches you to divide and draw the letter into individual parts. This method allows you to create better, more consistent, and more balanced letter forms. Let me know in the comments below if you would like to see a tutorial on the wooden board technique. Good, now with the completed letter, we move to step 2, which is determining the direction of the 3D. As I mentioned earlier, the 3D can extend in multiple directions. Most commonly, it's either bottom left or bottom right. You can of course do it top left and top right as well. I would just avoid doing the 3D completely vertical or horizontal, because then the effect isn't really that noticeable. Before we draw the lines, let's take a second to identify all the corners so we don't miss any. I've done this so many times that now I already know where to place my lines, But if you're just getting started and you kind of feel overwhelmed, this step will definitely help you out. Notice that I didn't mark the top left corner. I didn't do that because that line is gonna move through the letter, so I can skip it. Step 3 is draw the lines. Okay, so I drew my first line from this corner. Now every other corner should have a line that extends in the same direction. Feel free to make these lines a bit longer, and what doesn't get used will be deleted later on. Good, once you have drawn all the lines, it should look like this. Step 4 is closing up the shape. Again, you can either start from the bottom or from the side. What matters here is that the closing lines follow the direction of the lines of the original letter we drew. So I'll start by closing the two lowest points of the letter A, these two lines here. Next, I'll move to this side. I align my ruler to the side of the letter A and I slide it down to this corner right here. By closing this side, I have now yet another point that tells me where to close the crossbar. So I align my ruler with the crossbar of the letter A and I slide it down to the corner and close the line. Finally, I just need to connect the remaining side, and again, I have this little corner at the bottom that tells me how far I have to go. Once I'm done with connecting all the lines, all I have to do is erase the extras that extend beyond our 3D. And there you have it, friends. You've successfully created your first 3D letter. Of course, we can further style our 3D letter, but I'll cover that in a minute in the extra tips section. Right now, we are just focusing on understanding the basics of 3D letters. As always, it's best to move gradually from easier to more complex elements. But wait, what about rounded shapes and letters? Applying a 3D effect to rounded shapes can indeed be a bit trickier than letters with straight lines and edges. But don't worry, it's nothing too complicated. Let's see an example using the letter C. Following the same process, we know that our first step is to determine the direction of the 3D. I'll go bottom left here. The trick here is to locate the furthest edge of the letter. Now I'll determine the depth of the 3D and I'll start closing the shape by following the original line of the letter, this one right here. This is the part that makes rounded letters a bit more complicated. Additionally, you might want to round up the corners like this. Finally, feel free to delete all the lines that extend over the 3D letter. And here you can see a few other examples with rounded letters. And that's pretty much it. Following this method, you can add a 3D effect to the whole alphabet like I did here. I made a separate time-lapse video where I add a 3D effect to every single letter of the alphabet. If you want to watch that video, I dropped a link in the description box below. And guess what? I also made a free printable worksheet for you. I created 2 block letter alphabet templates where you can practice adding a 3D effect. The first page is totally empty, so you can start applying the 3D using a ruler. The other page has a barely visible 3D effect already applied to it, so you can just use it to trace it over. You can download these free worksheets, along with every other freebie that I have, straight from the lettering crate. To get instant access to the lettering crate, just sign up for my newsletter and follow the instructions. You'll immediately receive a welcome email that contains a link and a password to the lettering crate. Before I end this video, I wanted to share a couple of extra tips for 3D letters. Now that we have the basics covered, we can start looking at different ways to style our 3D letters. The first thing we're starting with is shadows. Shading your 3D letters is probably one of the best and easiest ways you can style your letters. It gives more depth to the letter and it just looks so much better with it. If you're just getting started, keep things simple and shade only the lower parts of the 3D, so the sides are brighter and the bottoms are darker. With rounded letters, what you can try to do is create more of a gradient look like this. At the bottom it starts darker, but as it moves towards the side, it's gonna get brighter. Once you get comfortable with the basics form of shading, you can start adding more detail and make it look even better. As you can see, I still kinda suck at it, but I'm trying to make some progress. Another cool thing you can do is playing with the direction of the 3D. Let's say that you have 2 words. You can point their 3Ds in opposite directions like I did in this example. You could also incline your letters and shoot the 3D in the opposite direction. This will also give you a cool looking effect. Basically, don't be afraid to play around and try out different combinations. As mentioned at the beginning, it's best to start learning 3D on basic block letters. Obviously, doing just block letters can quickly get boring. And once you learn the basics of 3D on block letters, you can start experimenting with different lettering styles. For example, you can try add a 3D effect to serif letters like I did here. And then there is also script lettering. Script lettering is a bit more challenging since most of the shapes are rounded. But I'm sure that with a bit of practice, you'll be able to do it in no time. And if you get bored of all this basic stuff, you can also try drawing letters in a 2-point perspective. Selena wrote this awesome step-by-step tutorial that you can find on my website. Again, the link is in the description box below. And there you have it, my friends. I hope that this tutorial taught you how to start creating 3D letters. Obviously, the more you do it, the better you will get at it. I'm pretty sure that after a couple of tries, you will understand how to draw a 3D effect on any lettering style. Best of all, you even won't have to use any reference at all. Take it slow, don't rush it, and most importantly, have fun and enjoy the process. What lettering effect or style would you like to learn next? Let me know by dropping a comment below. If you liked this video, and I really hope you did, consider giving it a thumbs up or even subscribing to my channel to keep up with my future and upcoming videos. It would really mean a lot to me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.